Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to take a look at Spain. A year's worth of rain in a day. This was predicted that we'd go from months to years worth of rain in the day as the sun changed its state. Here we are. Also, agriculture damaged. Almeria, the greenhouse capital of the world. A lot of lost crops. Hail just destroyed that area, as well as Valencia with the floods. So let's take a look at it. Take a look at the storm system. You're down southern Spain, coming off the Mediterranean, and as we look at cloud top heights, we see the same things that we saw across North Carolina. Now it's in Europe. Accumulated total precipitation, a year's worth of rain in a single day. And that dark brown on the map turned out to be 630 millimeters, which is 24.8 inches in a single day. Lightning mapper here for you, starting off at Gibraltar, but watch how the storm front and it just amplifies and stalls. Watch the lightning as it intensifies. Was that an electric current connection there? Something significant was going on in the atmosphere. Lightning tracker shows you where most of the strikes were during that period. And it was a flash flood event. These are some of the images that I was able to get off different social media, government, rescue operations, EU. It starts off slow, and this is what they saw also in the tsunami after Boxing Day. It started off slow coming in through the streets because it's a little bit of friction as it moves, but once it starts to take hold, that water that's flowing behind it starts to move faster in the torrent full of debris. But where does that debris go is the question. And the same thing, it starts off as being, there's a lot of resistance in that very frontal edge of the flood, but once it makes its way through, it allows that free flow of water behind it to just scour everything. And this would be unnerving, to see it. And you might think, okay, well, the city's drainage can capture this, but it was so overwhelming to the point that nothing stood a chance of our modern infrastructure, which seems to be the norm in today's world. Bridges being washed away as well. I mean, our modern infrastructure really can't cope with the changes and the amplifications that we're seeing. But again, we've only had a few hundred years to put things in perspective. So the river started to overflow, torrential storms, and then the floods came. And not only in croplands, but in the city. Valencia was the worst hit here. And you can see the devastation of what was left. And this is what was coming down the mountain into Valencia. This is just indescribable amounts of water that are coming down. Like, how do you even prepare for something? Once the drainage no longer works, your rivers are the streets. There's nowhere else for that water to go. And it is going to channel in the streets and in the homes. And as we look at some of the scarring and the ripped earth that we saw in North Carolina, exactly the same thing. So you can see the damage is very, very similar between these two places on the amount of water that came down. Now this was in the city, and Valencia now starts to spill in with all that debris right into the city. So then you got to wonder, what is this going to do as all this debris field rolls in? Well, this looks exactly like Asheville. But here we are in Valencia in Spain. And Trump warns a Kamala win could lead to a 1929 style crash. Costco seen double-digit growth in gold sales as gold hits all-time highs. Goldman Sachs raised their target $2,900 an ounce by early 2025. Silver outperformed gold up in 2024 32%. That's an 11-year high. And JP Morgan forecasts silver to hit $36 an ounce in early 2025. Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. And Patriot Gold Group has the No Fee for Life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. And you may qualify for the No Fee for Life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020 for your free investor guide today. And now on with the video. So the similarities from this are actually spooky. because you can see the amount of damage what water can do in the ferocity. And when this much water comes through areas that haven't experienced flows like this in hundreds, if not thousands of years, 25 inches of rain, that's spread out through an entire year. That's like 2 inches a month. And they got it all at one time. And again, the railroad tracks are the same thing. The damage that we see in North Carolina, the stacked up cars, a lot of these water damaged cars are going to come to the used car market. Beware to look for that. The same stack ups, debris. It's almost identically similar to what we saw in North Carolina also when water flows and gets trapped and are what you consider hardiest of buildings and roads were just no match. I mean, really like matchsticks being snapped. Again, how many tens or hundreds of billions will this cost to clean up? Right there, we're talking about part of a country again. North Carolina, East Tennessee, parts of states, but this was part of a country. The stacking of cars, just alone, a lot of these will make the used car market. Beware. Also, there were tornadoes going on at the same time. Vortice winds, lightning, all these types of different frontal boundaries coming in. The amount of tornadoes is to be still calculated, of a record number of tornadoes touching down. Now these are the before and after maps here. Valencia, obviously before to the left, and then we have to the right. Now we saw something in Libya also similar to this where last year, and it scoured an entire town pretty much out of the coastline. So a lot of these images are very similar here. October 2022, that's the last time but look at the amount of water that pooled in those low-lying areas, which are, it's not a major crop growing zone, but an enormous amount of buildings and industrial park areas that I'd taken a look at are underwater. And down the main rebuilt river running through town there. Now, this is the story. They were lucky that they had rebuilt this river because in 1957 in Valencia, there was also a very large flood. Nothing like today, though. Well, they ended up rebuilding that entire river system through the middle of town, which saved it. If it had been like this 1957 river system, the damage would have been incredibly catastrophic compared to the catastrophic that we've already seen. Fly over here for you. You can see the rivers didn't hold. The water just went everywhere. Now, the amount of cleanup this will entail also for flood damage insurance claims, etc., is going to bankrupt some firms. And EU's walking tightrope anyway with their economy, so we could see how this might spin out on something. And there were a lot of aerial images, believe it or not. You'd think there wouldn't have been, but this is the rescue. This is put out by the Spanish government here, showing you that they are indeed in the air looking for survivors, trying to pull people off that are stranded. Anywhere their search is moving from the city out on the countryside now. And you can see the vast amounts of water. It's just, as far as I can see, this is off a helicopter. So what kind of flood would this be to flood this vast of an area? You're talking once in a, 3,000 year flood? 2,000, be generous. And some different aerial footage here. This is off the National Police, off their helicopter feed. Again, thank you for allowing me to use this. The stacked cars up and down the roads, and how much of that first floor and parking garages and everything was inundated. It's going to take a while. There's going to be a lot of mold damage, a lot of homeowner claims, if they even had flood insurance, because that's another thing. This isn't a widely flooded area, so the chance of you having flood insurance for your home in the middle of a city where it only rains normally 2 inches a month, I don't think most people had flood insurance. And those cars that were trapped on the highway as the floodwaters came in too would have been mighty terrifying, as that river dumped on both sides out into the city, and the expressways were full of people. And look at the congregation of cars swept away in floods, bouncing around like corks in a swimming pool. And I want to bring you over to Almeria. This is going to start to make a lot of news because 30% of the UK vegetables come from this area, and it was just minced into what you see here. So the largest indoor greenhouse vegetable growing area in Europe looks like this. I will follow up on this as I'm getting more feeds coming in, but Almeria, this is the world famous area of a huge amount of produce under greenhouses, and it is shredded, literally shredded. And the initial feedback coming in right now, damaged greenhouses, if you look at the left shot there, you're going to see how much more green has appeared in the vegetative index versus the right side. Why is that? Well, when all those greenhouses are ripped open, satellite picked up vegetative density that wasn't there before because that was reflected off the tops of the greenhouses. That's how much damage there was to that region. Price is going to go up absolutely for veg across Europe. Now into the woo. This is the Spanish skies before the floods. Does it look unusual? I don't know. I'll let you make up your own mind. And a lot of people pointing to this strange ship. I don't know what kind of ship this is, but if anybody has any idea, please let me know. I'd like to identify it so we can, really put some real context behind it. But this ship was right off the shoreline just before all this happened. So where does it go from here? This is the rollover. Now, Roswell, New Mexico had half of a year's worth of rainfall in a day. Now, we're starting to capture a lot of these different stories across the Middle East, also getting 3 years worth of rain. But, when they're talking about just a couple inches per year in some areas, under 6 inches for a whole year, well, when you get 10, 12, 16 inches of rain, 3 years worth of rain. So the entire planet's hydrological system is tweaked. Is it the Hunga Tonga eruption adding more water vapor into the atmosphere that should be raining out now, but it's not. It's still stuck in the upper atmosphere, and it's continuing to increase in its volume, which is baffling a lot of minds. Lower altitude, yes, it is raining out. Upper altitude, above 40,000 feet, it's continuing to grow. So something else is causing more of this cloud cover droplet formation, and it is an unknown at this point, but storms seem to be continuing to get stronger. So that would be something that you would plan for. Would you get flood insurance? I don't know. But it seems like a lot of claims and a lot of damaged property is not coming back on the market. I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video. Please share with your friends and family. Also leave a comment below. What do you think really is the cause of all these increasing storms? Because with the increasing storm, you might want to think about emergency food supply. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030. That link's in the description box below. Great holiday gifts coming up for the next couple of months. See you next time. Bye for now.